Hello and welcome. This is Warboard Tactics. It's a turn-based strategy game inspired from Advanced Wars, with bits of Age of Empire thrown in. This is our work in progress, but it's coming along quite nicely. One thing that's been bothering me, though, is that it does take quite a bit of time to play the game. In turn-based games, especially against another player, turns can often take a long time, and this gets even more drawn out the longer the game goes on. So I have come up with an idea, and I'm hoping it will cut a lot of that time out, and I'm not really seeing it anywhere else. The idea is action queuing. Since there are a lot of actions to be made with the workers particularly, I figured why not be able to queue up those actions during your opponent's turn and have it automatically play out once your turn starts. So that's what I'll be working on for a bit. I've already started by removing all of the server action calls into another set of arrays, so that the action sent by the player doesn't cancel out the process of you queuing up a move or any other action, and this ended up being a lot more painful than I thought, but it's over now. After some testing, I made sure that I have full control of the units, even though it's not my turn, and now I can actually start and work on what this function is going to be. I'll start by creating a class to hold all the information I need for the action. Then we're going to create a dictionary and a queue to hold those requests, along with a boolean so I can shut down any player input so that the player can't mess up the actions that are happening automatically. Instead of creating a new menu for everything, I'm just going to go ahead and hijack a current function I have for the stay button. That way I can test the queue. I'm not going to add anything to the dictionary yet. I'm just going to test the queue and cycle through all the actions that I've queued up. Okay, so right now it's my turn. I can move my stuff on command, so I'm going to end my turn. And I'm going to just start moving stuff. So only using the stay button. Now I don't have anything to visualize this difference, so I think I'll go ahead and work on that next. For this feature, I think I'm just going to work on movement, maybe loading and unloading in the wagons, and building and gathering for the workers. So attacking probably won't be a move that you can add to this list. Okay, so for the time being, I haven't changed anything on regular when it's your turn. Everything still works just fine, except for when you end your turn now. I have turned the alpha channel down just so that it's visible during testing that I can see. So, when it's not your turn, it looks a little bit more obvious, I guess. Alright, so I added just a little symbol there just to show that they've been used already. It's kind of a temporary thing, but so far everything's been working. If I end the other player's turn, see that they start doing it. This thing doesn't go away because I haven't gotten there yet. So here in the code, what I'm doing is I'm just creating a new class, adding it to the dictionary, and I'm just using a string, I think, for the dictionary key, which is just the X and Y added together. And here we have the validation. It's just taking all of those calls that we made from the dictionary, adding them to a list, and then that list goes into a queue, and then from the queue it plays it. So currently right now, I need to do this validation thing. This is why we're putting it into a list in the first place, so that I can cycle through all of them and make sure that they're still legitimate moves. Alright, so after a bit of time, I've done a little bit more with the interface. If you move and whatnot, it still does this. You can now go and load, and then that can do stuff. You can build, which is pretty neat. If I were to adjust this guy's movement, you can see I can now build onto this building that isn't quite there but is there. And now if I end the other player's turn, you can see there's a temporary UI, but it shows you all of the moves that you can do. So before I can actually do anything on my turn, I have to hit the confirm. So I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of this wagon move, hit confirm, and then everything should go ahead and do everything. Except for the build apparently. So that ended up being an easy fix. If you queue something up, it takes the first slot, right? And then if I move something, that takes a second slot. If I order this guy to build, it takes a third slot. And if I were to remove somebody that I already moved, it filled the same slot, which means that it still would have moved first, even though it's reliant on this character to move first, or this unit to build this before it could help build. So I switched it around so that if you move something that's already has been placed in the queue, it re-queues it higher up in the slot. So if I were to end turn, you would see now that this guy should go first, building that, and then the other one takes over and finishes the build. Okay, so for those of you who want to see the coding side of it, this is the validating queue function. This is going to get called when it is your turn finally. It's going to run through all of your actions, and it's going to check to see if they're good actions, if they can actually be done inside the game world. So we're taking the dictionary that we added all of our actions to, we're turning it into a temporary queue of the queue called. This is the class that holds all of our information for the call action. Then as we cycle through them, we're going to dequeue them one at a time, and we're going to take the call into this validate movements function. And this here is going to figure out what the call is meant for through a switch statement, which is moving, gathering, depositing, anything like that. And it's going to play out the move to see if it can even be done. And if that returns a success, it's just going to keep going down the line. It's going to update the queue array depending on previous movements, because sometimes the queue array can get a little messed up depending on the order in which the units move, especially if there was a failure in a move. It needs to reset that queue so any previous reliant units don't move into that same square. So if you have a unit move and then another unit move into where that unit moved from, if that first one can't move anymore, then it will also take out that second movement as well, because it would be incorrect. Then after it does all that, it's going to wrap the entire thing back up into a queue, the overall queue, and if there's anything even in it, then it's going to give you that UI box. And anything that gets exited out of that UI box, we'll see on here. Removing the path from the queue. This is basically the exit button for, like, I don't want this unit to move. It's going to eliminate it and then rerun the validating. Rerun every validate just to make sure. So here's just a sped up gameplay of me and a buddy doing this, showing the queue and testing it out and seeing how much quicker it is to actually get through the beginning of a game. Even though it's sped up, it still is a lot quicker, I promise you. Anyway, thanks for watching if you got this far, and I'll see you in the next one.